Commander Zivak squinted at the hologram, his tendrils twitching in confusion. "Is this a joke?" he asked, staring at the image. "Are you telling me humans were the galaxy's first warriors?" A murmur of skepticism rippled through the council chamber. Representatives from 15 of the most advanced species sat around the circular table, each one gazing at the hologram of a human soldier clad in ancient armor, with a faint red dust encircling it, lending an almost menacing quality to the figure's hardened expression. The scientist beside Zivak adjusted his spectacles with one of his claws and cleared his throat. "There is no mistake, Commander. The evidence points to humans as the originators of interstellar combat strategy. They developed warfare independently on their home planet, fighting among themselves for thousands of years before encountering any other species." The chamber filled with uneasy glances as the alien delegates exchanged skeptical looks. The notion seemed absurd. Humans were the last race admitted to the galactic Concord, still crawling out of their solar system while the rest of the galaxy was constructing Dyson spheres and exploring nebulas. Zivak struggled to steady his voice as the gaze of the holographic soldier seemed to pierce him. "And their technology?" he asked. "Did this history of warfare really lead to advancements?" The scientist gestured, and a new image appeared, a battlefield, ancient by human standards, with crude metal weapons and war machines scattered across scarred soil. Yet beneath the roughness lay the foundations of sophisticated strategy. On the contrary, the scientist explained, human technology advanced directly because of their conflicts. Every leap forward was driven by warfare, armor, weaponry, tactics. Within just a few thousand cycles, they moved from sharpened sticks to machines capable of destroying entire cities. A voice broke the silence, harsh and incredulous. "If humans were so powerful," Yarrick, the Zarnak representative, growled, his spiny head quivering, "why didn't they conquer the galaxy ages ago? Why were they confined to that rock?" The scientist hesitated. "They were isolated. By the time they reached the stars, we were already here." "But," he added, his expression dimming, "there is something else, a tale from their culture. They call it sleeping dragons." A shiver passed through the room, though none could quite explain why. Zivak's scales tightened as he pressed for an answer. "What is this sleeping dragon?" The scientist paused, gauging the room. "It's a belief," he explained, "that humans hold power that doesn't need to be displayed constantly. They are patient, but their history shows a capacity for ferocity that lies dormant until needed. They describe themselves as dangerous only when provoked, as if their nature waits, coiled." Zivak tapped the table, exasperated. "They fought each other for millennia, wasted resources, even developed technology for destruction, yet they claim to be peaceful?" The scientist nodded. "Yes, despite the devastation of their wars, they often ended through negotiation and compromise. Humanity has long maintained a balance between warfare and diplomacy, perhaps out of necessity." Yarrick sneered, his bony teeth glinting. "So, they're a race of deadly pacifists?" "Not pacifists," the scientist replied, his voice dropping. "It's a controlled balance that other species don't understand, because they never needed it. Until now, humans had no one to fight but themselves." A new hologram flickered to life, showing a modern human soldier in sleek armor, a visor reflecting the dim light. Strange symbols adorned his chest, marking past battles or ranks, part of a tradition preserved over centuries. Zivak frowned as he studied the soldier's face. "Why are we seeing this now?" The scientist deactivated the hologram, leaving the chamber in silence. "Because we've been monitoring them. We thought we could guide their integration into the Concord by limiting their exposure to combat roles. But," he trailed off, "they found out. And now we suspect they may retaliate." The weight of the statement hung in the air. Retaliate. Among the galactic species, disputes were resolved through diplomacy or trade. Retaliation in the human sense felt almost barbaric. Yet the evidence suggested humanity was more than capable of it. "They could retaliate against us?" Salvik's voice trembled, the first glimmer of doubt breaking through his usual arrogance. The scientist's face was solemn. "They are no longer confined to Earth. Their ships may be primitive, but they are effective, and their soldiers are resilient in ways we hadn't anticipated." "Resilient? How?" Zivak demanded. In response, the scientist activated one last image, a recent recording from Earth, captured by a hidden scout. The footage showed human soldiers coordinating precisely under live fire, communicating with hand signals and whisper. When one soldier fell, Another quickly pulled him up, and they pressed on, undeterred. The council watched, unnerved, as a wounded soldier limped away from an explosion, his resolve unbroken. They appear to feed off adversity, rather than fear it, the scientist observed. Zalvik looked away, feeling a growing sense of unease. Why do we fear them? He muttered. The scientist's voice was grave. Because we misjudged them. We thought they were simply latecomers, but they've been preparing for conflict far longer than we imagined. Yarick's laughter broke the tension, harsh and condescending. So they endured hardship, he scoffed. They're still just organic beings, limited by flesh. What can they do against our fleets and shields? The scientist didn't flinch, meeting Yarick's gaze with quiet intensity. Perhaps, he replied, but they may surprise us. For millennia, we have prided ourselves on peace and diplomacy, avoiding war. But these humans, they mastered conflict. The council members sat in uneasy silence. The species they had deemed inferior had endured a bloody history of loss and tenacity. Finally, Selvik asked quietly, "Are we preparing for war?" The scientist hesitated before responding. "Our analysts have noticed increased military activity around human-controlled space. They've fortified defenses and mobilized fleets. Nothing outwardly hostile, but their preparations are telling. Let them prepare," Yarick snarled dismissively. "Their ships are dwarfed by our cruisers." But the scientist disagreed. "These are historical records of human warfare," he said, pointing to evolving tactics through the centuries. They adapted, turned weaknesses into strengths, laid traps, and took calculated risks. They transformed war into an art. A blue-skinned Orloth representative raised a hand. "But they have physical limits, don't they? Fewer ships, weaker bodies." The scientist nodded. "Yes, physically they are limited, but they've cultivated a resilience and adaptability unknown to us. For humans, weakness isn't a barrier, it's a challenge." Yarick chuckled darkly. "You make them sound invincible, but they're still bound by their own limitations." The scientist looked back with an unreadable expression. "Perhaps, but their drive to overcome obstacles, not despite but because of them, makes them unpredictable. They have a saying, 'The best weapon against an enemy is a mind willing to win at any cost.'" The council went silent, each member visibly disturbed. "So what do you recommend?" Selvik finally asked. The scientist spoke cautiously. "Isolation may no longer work. We need to assess whether negotiation can ease their suspicions. However, if humanity's past is any guide, words alone won't be enough. They value actions, strength, and respect." Yarick scoffed. But Zivak sensed the truth. Humans valued resilience. They had defied even the harshest odds. As weeks passed, reports came in of relentless human military drills, ships moving with calculated intent, communications encrypted. Humans weren't just organizing. They were preparing for something on an unanticipated scale. Yarick dismissed the concerns, insisting, "Our fleet will crush them." But Zivak wasn't so sure. "Have we sent a message?" he asked. "Any communication?" The officer shook his head. "Only standard greetings." No response. Yarick growled, "If they won't respond, we'll meet them with firepower." But Zivak interjected, "This isn't a fight we'll win by charging in blindly. If they truly want war, we need a plan." Then, as if on cue, a transmission began from the human flagship. "This is Commander Vasquez of the United Earth Fleet. Concord, your treatment of humanity as a lesser species ends today. We come not as aggressors, but as equals. Stand down, and we will discuss terms." Yarick laughed bitterly. "How dare they? They have no idea what power they're challenging." But Selvik felt a rare spark of respect. "Open a line," he ordered. Ignoring Yarick's protest, Selvik spoke. "Commander Vasquez, this is Selvik of the Concord Council. Your entry into our territory is provocative." Vasquez replied steadily. "Provocative? Commander? You've forced humanity into a corner for centuries, stifled our development, confined us, assigned us menial rules. And yet, here we are, not to conquer but to claim our place in the galaxy." The council members shifted uncomfortably. Zivak struggled to sound diplomatic. "Your grievances are noted, Commander, but remember, your fleet is vastly outgunned." Vasquez's reply was calm. "Perhaps, but history shows that humanity doesn't need invincibility. We need purpose. You should have seen that from the start." Finally, Wilo lost patience. "Enough. Humans are a lesser species, an anomaly." He spat. Vasquez's face hardened. "Call us lesser all you like. We're still here, and we're not going anywhere."